Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be why women try to push your buttons. So this is a really good email, and the reason why I like it, I actually had a phone session with a guy last night, and we had a similar conversation where his now ex-girlfriend was pushing his buttons and trying to do things to upset him and get under his skin and cause him to be uncentered because he had a little bit of an anger issue. He tended to get upset and mad and angry. And the reality is, when you do that, when you behave that way, in other words, when you display that you're perturbed instead of being unperturbable, it causes a woman not to feel safe in your presence. And so if they think they can do and say things that are going to upset you, they're going to do it because they're hoping that you remain calm. If you remain calm, then you're in your masculine. If you get totally upset, then you're totally being in your feminine and losing control. And it's really unattractive to a woman. So I got a quote that I wrote on this topic, and we'll go through his email because this is really good, especially for you guys that are in long-term relationships. Or in this particular case, this guy, he said he screwed up with this girl a year ago, and now he's kind of got like a second chance. And I don't think he's actually read my work because he's talking to this girl about going out on group dates and things instead of just hanging out with her and him alone. But you can see she's doing things to see if she can get under his skin and trying to create some drama. And so far, he's not taking the bait, which is good. But if that's why it went sideways a year ago, is because he was getting upset and he was easily perturbed, she's going to remember that. And women will do these things just to see how you react. If you remain calm, that's masculinity. Because masculinity is being dangerous, but also, most importantly, being kind. So the quote says, a woman needs to feel safe and comfortable in order to open up to a man, trust his leadership, and willfully submit to him. If a man is easily perturbed, and she knows how to push his buttons to upset him, she will usually do it anyway just to see how he reacts. This is a test of his strength and emotional self-control. If he comes unglued, she gets turned off. If he is unperturbed, she gets turned on. Be unperturbable. So with that in mind, let's go through his email. He says, Coach, I recently have started talking again to a girl I messed up with a year ago, and we hung out a few times before her work schedule went to 7 days a week for a month. She's now back to her normal schedule, and I asked her to hang out, but she said she had plans already with a group of friends, but I could come along if I wanted. So as I talked about in 3% Man, you don't go on group dates unless you're in a serious relationship, unless she's in love with you and you're officially boyfriend and girlfriend. And this email is a perfect example of why you don't do that. Because there's a guy in this group that he doesn't like and that doesn't like him, and she knows that. So if you're, because the whole point of a date, a man's job in the courtship is just simply to create an opportunity for sex to happen, to hang out, to have fun, to hook up. And so if you go out on a group date and there's going to be a guy there that doesn't like you, that you're cock blocking yourself. It's totally unnecessary. And he already screwed up once a year ago. So you can imagine if he agrees to meet her out with her and her friends and this guy here where they don't like each other, then the chances of him seducing her in that night, or even worse, her showing the other guy interest and showing you interest to kind of pit them against each other because she'll like the attention and validation, it's like you don't play that game. You want to be the man of your castle, the king of your kingdom. And what seduction is to get closer and closer to a woman until ultimately you end up inside of her. So he says, whenever I get an invite like this, regardless of who it's from, I always ask who's going to be there and where it's going to be. I don't do well with drama. Well, good news. Your life should be a drama-free zone because that's what I preach. And if you'd like to remind yourself of that, go to spring.com, the Coach Corey Wayne store, and pick yourself up one of these sweet mugs to remind yourself. Proudly display it on your desk. You can drink your coffee out of it, or like me, ionized water. One of the people she said was going was a guy friend of hers and her stepbrothers, and she knows that we don't like each other at all. She knew this as he had sent messages to try to get me mad at her so I wouldn't talk to her because he likes her. So she likes the attention and validation from this dude. This guy's basically coming back into the picture after a year, and now she has spun her little web, and she's going to have two guys that both like her, that want to date her, that want access to the box, and she's just going to enjoy the show. So you're moving into her world, or her frame, if you will, instead of yours, if you agree to these things. It'd be a different story if they were boyfriend girlfriend. But if they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and she's like, oh, hey, come meet us, and he's like, well, who's going to be there? Oh, that guy's going to be there. He's like, I don't want to be around that dude. It's going to be trouble. Oh, come on, honey. Like, no, I'm not interested. He's like, I'll go, but if that guy shows up, I'm leaving. And I will leave you there if you invite this guy. You got to set and enforce healthy boundaries if that were the case. And, in other words, if that was a scenario that was going on. But in this case, he's just now starting to talk to her again. But because she's not available, he's thinking, wow, this is the only time I can see her, which is scarcity mindset. And so he would be considering going. So he says, I told her I'd love to go, but I better not because I know he doesn't like me and I don't want to start any drama. I would have just said, I don't like that guy and I don't want to be around him. And if he's going to be there, we'll get together some other time. When are you definitely going to be available so we can get together, you and I? Because that's the idea. You want to have a definite date with a definite day, definite time for the two of you, just you two, to get together. Never, ever, if you're, especially in this case, when you've got a second chance, in essence, to undo your bad behavior, never, ever do a group date with somebody you're not in a serious relationship with, because it's just not going to end well. She's not going to be natural because everybody's going to be watching what she's doing and what you're doing, and you're going to end up having two dudes there that like the same girl. It's not a good thing. He says, thanks for the invite, though. He says, I used to get mad over that kind of thing, but now I know that women do it to watch a man's reaction. She responded, okay then, and my shit test detector went off that she was expecting me to justify my choice, so I didn't respond. A few minutes later, she messaged me again. We are all meeting at the disc golf course down the road from you. We're going to play a game and then go trailing. Once again, I didn't respond. Partly because I was kind of mad she would even invite me and seemed determined that I come. This is a test of your strength. And if you did a lot of flopping around a year ago and looked really weak, that's why she's trying to see if she can continue to get under your skin. And this is what women do. If their frontal approach doesn't work, maybe they're going to approach you from the rear. If the frontal or the flank attack doesn't work, she'll approach you from the side. So that's why you got to be consistent. No thanks. I'm not interested in hanging out with that dude, but I'd love to see you and get together what is your schedule like when you and I can get together? That's what he should have done, but it doesn't sound like he did. He just sounds like he ghosted her. Which, that's not going to be helpful. Your job is to make a definite date. When she knows him and I don't get along, so I don't want to say something out of anger, and partly because I know it's probably best course of action, which it is. He says, what do I do when she does this kind of thing? Politely decline and make a date with just you and her. No group dates. And if you have a date set and then she says, oh, I invited so-and-so to come along, just say, well, you're going to have to tell so-and-so sorry because you and I have a date. And if she says, oh, come on, don't be that way. He's like, no. If you'd rather go out with your friend, then go out with your friend and we'll just go out some other time. That's the takeaway at that point. And then she might say, okay, well, I'm going to go out with my girlfriend then because you're being like this. It's like, no problem. You didn't keep your word. So have a great night. And then I would never call or text her again for any reason. And I wouldn't bring up getting together unless she brought it up. Because you had plans, and then she tries to change the plans. Because in this particular kind of case, that's the kind of shit that this woman is going to do. You'll make a date, and then she'll go, oh, I invited one of my girlfriends to come on. I was like, well, you're going to have to uninvite her because I didn't invite your girlfriend. I want to take you out. I want to spend some time with you. And if she tries to get other people to go along, what she's doing is she's bringing cock blockers. So say no to the cock blockers. I don't know, maybe I should get a mug of that. Say no to cock blockers. Should I respond just like I did and leave her to be, or should I say something more assertive? Well, I wouldn't be agreeing to group dates. The one critique I would say is it doesn't sound like you tried to make a definite date where just you and her could get together. And you do that by saying, well, when are you free so you and I can get together and go out on a date or go to dinner or whatever? And if she won't do that, if she's, oh, well, I'm busy next few weeks and I got, group date, or I got all these things with friends and blah, it's like, well, it sounds like your schedule's too busy. Why don't you get in touch when your schedule frees up and we'll plan something then? And then you never do anything after that, because dating is like tennis. You extend an invitation so you can say, hell yeah, or hell no, or how about I bring some cock blockers along? So you're only going to make a date when it's hell yeah, but if it's hell no, or how about some cock blockers, you're going to say thanks, but no thanks for the cock blockers. Not that you're going to actually specifically say that, but you get the gist. Because you're not going to seduce a woman if there's a lot of people around and it's just your first couple of dates. I don't know how many times he went out with her, but he screwed up a year ago. He obviously displayed weakness then that turned her off and she didn't want to see him anymore. Or maybe she friend zoned him. But at the end of the day, this is the testing of his strength. Has he changed? Has he grown? Is he strong enough to politely decline? But if the thirst is overwhelming, most guys would go along with the cock blocker date, which does nothing but get them cock blocked and a set of blue balls, and they waste a bunch of money and didn't have a good time. Probably didn't even get any kissy poo for their trouble and their money. That's a bad way to go. So I would encourage you to read 3% Man, Mastering Yourself, and my third book, Quotes, Ruminations, and Contemplations at understandingrelationships.com. Subscribe to the email newsletter. And if you'd like to book a coaching session with yours truly, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book the option that works best for you. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.